Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. My name is Cindy for May 27th. So, a couple of things, housekeeping kind of things first. Thank you so very much for the ongoing and continued support. It is so appreciated. Whether it is your viewing or the thumbs up, the amazing comments, whether it is donations, and thank you for those. Um, it's just really nice to know that, I've been doing this for a few years now, a couple of years anyways. Three maybe, I'm not sure. But it's nice to know that I have retained a lot of you. And so thank you very much for that. I also want to just let you know that for people who are interested in getting a private reading, um, I have actually a couple of spots open next week, and then I am booking as early as the first week of June. So this is a great time to schedule a reading if you would like one because you don't have very long wait times at all. And if you want to do that, you can go into the drop box below. There is an email address, which is soulprint888@gmail.com. Just send me a quick little note saying I'm looking for information on a reading, and I will get that information out to you. So here we go. Happy Friday. So I was kind of a little discouraged on Thursday morning. I On my news feed, Canadian news was reporting that within hours of that horrific slaughter in Texas, the conspiracy theories were already flying around left, right, and center. So I thought, speaking of conspiracy theories and stuff that isn't really news, that gets passed off as news, maybe it's time to take a look at Fox News. And I use the term news lightly. And Tucker Carlson, because he seems to be the biggest purveyor of the nonsense, certainly lately. So I'm going to start with Fox, and then I'm going to drill down and take a look at Tucker and see kind of maybe what the future holds for him. So I guess we should get started, eh? Come on down. I have a question. Okay, so I'll give it one more quick shuffle, or maybe two. And let's find out about how about this way? Insight regarding Fox News. Insight regarding Fox News. Insights regarding Fox News. Let's see if we can try to get a handle on what they're about. Oh. Okay. Sometimes these cards. Okay, so we're starting off with the Moon and the King of Wands. So, sometimes the Moon is about things being in shadow, or, things being sort of hidden and you can't see them clearly. Sometimes it represents a full moon, and so there's illumination. But one of the things this card can also represent is sort of that baying at the moon, sort of the lunacy. And it's just entertaining to me, frankly, that the card that follows this sort of lunacy is the King of Wands. So you're talking about communications, right? You're talking about, people sort of in authority or higher up, like on, the ladder. And so in this case, it's a matter, this is the thing, okay? When they go too far and they start getting pushback, they pull back. Not a lot, just a little bit, just enough so that if you are watching, I guess, Fox News at times when The Tucker Carlsons and Sean Hannity's and the Laura, whatever her last name is. When you're watching it other than that, you may actually be getting some, granted, conservative slanted, but, kind of news. But when it comes right down to it, the partnership that has been created by Fox and the right-wing conservatives, honestly, that's what sustains them. That, and I get like sort of trash news, right? When it comes to Fox, the enterprise, the Murdoch conglomeration, they really do sort of pander to the lowest denomination, right? So gossip and smut and crazy conspiracy theories, etc., etc. And even though it is so low consciousness, it is so, far away from where, as a society, as a civilization, we actually want to be going, there is a demand for it. And that's what they thrive on. That is where their focus is. That is where they, frankly, at this point, intend to keep their focus. And, people have said, like, okay, well, when Murdoch passes, like, what do we think is going to happen? If there are changes coming, they're going to be very slow and I think very gradual, because Fox is not going, and I'm referring to the Murdoch sort of conglomeration, if you will, as Fox, okay? They are not going to just midstream sort of change direction, because frankly, that would create a backlash. And right now, they're in a happy place. They're raking in money left, right, and center. They have a media presence, okay? And whether that's the tabloids or news or, just stuff on their channels. So they're not going to be sort of anxious to walk away from that which is serving them well. And they will push and they will just wallow in the mud, okay? There is a possibility that down the road there may be some shifts and changes, but honestly, it will be slow. It will be after senior sort of passes. And you have to remember, this is, in some ways, the Trump family is a really good representation. So you're looking at it and you think, okay, well, the old man has gone around the bend. He's little crackers. There is no place low enough that he won't go. And then you look to the children, you look to that next generation, and you think, surely, God, they must be able to see clearly what this looks like, what this is. You'd think, wouldn't you? Except, you know what? What they see is the money, the status, the success, the entrance, if you will, to to certain social circles. And so don't expect the sons to be cut from a different cloth, because we recognize that just sometimes, particularly when you're talking about kind of those family dynamics and those family sort of dynasties, if you will, the apple unfortunately doesn't fall far from the tree. And they will use whatever means possible, no matter the trickery, no matter kind of the untruths, no matter any, because they're getting what they want, which is, incredibly depressing when you think about it. Because, we sort of live with the hope that at some point, um, there is a course correction, there is sort of a recognition of the error of their ways. Don't hold your breath, people. Don't hold your breath. When things get really dicey, that's when you see them pulling back and trying to skedaddle away from the person causing the biggest waves. Okay. And so the most recent one that I'm aware of, anyways, is the whole Tucker Carlson and or Carlson and um, oh my God, replacement theory, right? We know us white folks are being replaced by immigrants and people who aren't white and people are different than, and they're going to take our jobs and they're going to take our livelihood and yak. They sort of pull back from that. But they leave him to continue to say it. Why? Because it rakes in the viewers and that rakes in the money. And it honestly and pathetically seems to be that simple. When it gets really bad and the country or their clients, their advertisers, start passing really harsh judgment, they back up and they sort of be quiet for a bit. And then incrementally, they get back to exactly the spot that they were and a step beyond that. It's like a game that they play. They understand what motivates. And they understand that one of the primary things that motivates is fear, anger, resentment. And they play on those because that's who they're partnered with. And whether that partnership is with politicians or powerful people in other arenas of life, whether that is, their advertisers, their staff, the people who watch them, they understand what works. And while the rest of us are sort of appalled, they don't care because it's working for them. And this is the sad kind of truth about life, is that people don't give up something until they stop deriving the benefit of whatever that is. And that applies to companies, that applies to individual people. When whatever we're doing stops getting the reinforcement or stops, giving us that reinforcement, that is when we change course. Until then, we don't. Now, somewhere down the line, it's very possible that they could be in for a bit of a bumpy road. But I have to tell you, it again looks like there's sort of a pause and that kind of recalibrating. But then ultimately, they really are about the money, and so they revert back. Honestly, I don't see them changing. Not right now. Not yet. And certainly not while they can still be on the same page as Republicans, as the right wing, as the super ultra conservatives. They don't care that they're spewing mixed messages. They don't care that they are behaving with more hypocrisy than people have ever seen or witnessed. If there's one thing the last 5 years have taught us that the floor that we all thought was a common denominator is not. And it goes so much lower and so much deeper. And over the last period of time, we really have discovered that there is no floor for a lot of people. And the family, the Murdoch family, stays strong. You know, it's just, they may not agree with everything Daddy does. They may not like this or that. But you know what? They're not going to change it. Not yet. Not now. Not when it looks like the Republicans still have a good grip on, frankly, a significant portion of the American public. So that's slightly depressing, but it really does appear that for now, they continue on. You know, at some point, they're going to get their wings clipped, but I don't see it in the immediate future. I really don't. All right, let's take a look at Tucker Carlson, shall we? Trajectory, Tucker Carlson, trajectory, Tucker Carlson, trajectory, Tucker Carlson. Let's see. How's he doing? How's he going to be doing? What's going on in his world? Yep. He is currently raking in the viewers. And this is what's pathetic, is he knows that a lot of what he spouts is plain garbage. He also does not like to be challenged. He does not like to have to justify what he says or does or thinks. But he knows that his words have power, and yet he knows that they're lies. This is it. He is like a performance artist, okay? He is like that person who, when he gets in front of the camera, he sort of devolves, if you will, into this other personality. And I'm not exactly saying that there's some silver lining in him. I'm saying that he is well aware that what he is saying is not truth. He is well aware of the fact that it riles people up and gets them upset. But that's what he sees his job as. That's what he sees his purpose as. And the fact that it is only about the money for him and the exposure, and that really this is another situation where he doesn't really care. In some ways, it's almost like he's addicted to the notoriety. He's addicted to the outrage, that he causes in all of these other circles. It's sort of like his drug of choice. Okay. And again, what did I just finish saying? Until we stop getting the benefit of a behavior, we don't change the behavior. And he is still reaping in the benefit. This man is worth a great deal of money. And yet, all he is motivated and driven by is acquiring more. it looks like there is going to be a time in the future, and I kind of want to say sooner rather than later, but for those of you who know, tarot is it's very difficult to get really specific timing. But it looks like he's going to be going through some sort of an assessment, some sort of a point in time where he's going to have to kind of really look at things and really justify things. I don't know what this is about. I don't know if it is something legal, like a deposition he might have to give, or some testimony he might have to give, or that one day his rant is just so unhinged, they yank him off the air for, one of those, I'm going to have a vacation and spend time with my family. I don't know, but it looks like there's some trouble coming down the road for him. And it is going to impact that sort of little happy life that he perceives that he has and that he lives. And I have to say, in some ways, this went on before Trump because, it was Fox that started with the whole birther situation. That kind of hysterical spouting of nonsense, it really started to get its traction there. And Trump allowed it to go way over the edge, way off the scale, because Trump was. And again, there was that segment of the population that really liked that. That sort of part of the population that didn't really think about kind of like the vast number of roles that a president needs to play. He needs respect in the political arena. He needs respect, with other world leaders. He needs, support from his own caucus, his own party. But with Trump, everything just went off the rails. And by and large, we have witnessed the fact that the Republican Party cannot rein it back in. Joe Biden has been in office for what, a year and a half? And they still cannot scrape off the residue from their shoes that Trump left. And of course, then you have that certain segment of the party who thrives on the stuff that's on the bottom of the shoe. So I don't see, somehow Tucker and Donald are somehow, they sort of feed off of each other, right? And they continue to do so. I mean, we found out, over time, just exactly how involved he was with the election and, spouting stories and whatever. But it looks like there is still quite a close connection there. And so he will do and say whatever it is that riles people up, because again, for him, it's about the money. It's about hanging on to the status, the notoriety, getting the ratings so he gets the money, raking in that dough, because that's what he's about. But unlike the sort of the Murdoch situation, there are going to be times where there is going to come loss for him. And, where does that take him? Where does he go with that? Perhaps he ultimately suffers some disappointments. Maybe he becomes dethroned. Perhaps the cruelty and the viciousness takes him off a cliff. But it very much looks like he's not going to be able to maintain this situation indefinitely. You know what, this is it. It's like his energy is going to become so toxic, so radicalized, so like unhinged. I think that ultimately could be what he's going to go like around a bend, and the people who love him are going to continue to love him. But it feels very much as if there's going to be some sort of a pushback or an outcry. And that could be where he gets his wings clipped. And it kind of feels like when that happens, it's going to happen kind of fast. And it feels like he's going to see aspects of his world sort of come tumbling down. And I have to say, it very much feels like whatever is happening kind of behind the scenes, it's going to be that we're only going to get glimmers of it. It feels like it's going to be sort of really well hidden until it just implodes, I think. All right. Now, the other thing that came to light that I'm just going to take a quick peek at is the fact that an appeals court ruled that the lower court was absolutely correct in sort of denying this, whatever it was that the Trumps were trying to get, so that they didn't have to sit for depositions. And the appeals court has also said, okay, well, yeah, you know what, Donald Jr. and Ivanka need to testify. They need to give a deposition pertaining to business practices of the organization. Now, Eric Trump did that. He did it already. And that was the deposition where he apparently took the fifth, basically 500 times. So, let's just take a quick peek and see if the other three that are left to be deposed maybe have another strategy. I have a feeling that Ivanka, once again, may be one of the ones who is a little bit more forthcoming. Because let's face it, Jared is doing incredibly well with all of the deals that he made with the Saudis, et cetera, et cetera. And so, maybe we're getting to a point with her where she thinks that she can comfortably side with her husband and not lose necessarily the lifestyle that she so relishes. As for Don Jr., I suspect that he is just kind of going to be like a little bit of a blithering idiot. And even when he talks, no one's going to be able to actually make a lot of sense out of what he's saying. And Senior is just going to be like, he doesn't remember nothing. Or it's not his responsibility, or it's not his fault. Let's just take a look, eh? New York depositions Trumps. New York depositions Trumps. New York depositions Trumps. They're going to try to keep as much quiet as they can. They're going to have a hard time, frankly, explaining, the thievery, okay, the deception, the way things were handled and conducted. But don't forget, when it comes to the Trumps and real estate in particular, the fallback is this is normal. This is what goes on. And yeah, it might be against the law, but everybody does it. That's the fallback position. But feels very much as if when they finally end up having to sit for those depositions, it feels very systematic and a little bit cutthroat, right? It feels as if the questions are going to be pointed and very direct, and it's going to make it hard for them to wiggle out. So that's where you see them saying nothing, conveniently forgetting, taking the fifth, or rambling on and being garbled. The family is going to continue to try to stay together because, again, they recognize that the money, the resources come through daddy. And so, to whatever degree, they're going to hang on to that. And they're going to, frankly, there's exposure coming. So much that we haven't heard about, so much that has been being quietly investigated. But it's coming. And it very much feels like when all is said and done, there's going to be a significant price to pay. And the illusion of the solid, unbelievably impressive businessman and his spawn is going to be completely shattered. And they're not going to be able to retrieve it, I don't think. Because it comes right down to it. Once a fool, always a fool. Okay, so have a good weekend. I will see you next week. Take time to get centered and balanced and just be still for a little bit. And don't forget, as you have the energy and the motivation, don't forget to do some energy work, sending love and support and light to areas that need it. And that is not only Buffalo and Texas, where they're still reeling. Don't forget Ukraine. And don't forget some of the other countries that are really also having a very difficult time. Until next time, take care. Be well. We'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.